Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special Halloween edition of your Modern World weekly launch. So to start things out, I want to start outlining goals each week. So the goals for my instructional launch this week are to go over the class progress, do some shout outs, discuss the attendance policy again, talk about the grades and the progress monitoring that you're about to receive, and also some tips and advice for just navigating the platform and doing better on the content assessments. So the Ideas That Change the World project, 4 out of 23 of you have submitted, and that's not the best number, as I'm sure you can tell. The good thing is it's not late yet. It's going to be due on the 7th of November, which is roughly just over 1 week away. If you want feedback from me on the checkpoints and to get some help and feedback on the cognitive skills that you're going to be graded on, make sure you're submitting that to me by Tuesday, 11/14. So I'm allowing you to even have an extra week past due. But after that point, I have to move on to more material and go with the bulk of the class. So if you are wanting help, you need to start working soon because I'm not going to be providing feedback on the first project after Tuesday, 11/14. So Jack Skellington looks a little bit perplexed here, and I have a feeling it's because he's aware that the projects are worth 70% of your final grade in the Summit platform. So it's a very scary thought, but if you get to work now, I promise you that you will be successful and everything will be fine at the end of the year. I want to give some shout outs to Britton, Shane, Matthew, Alyssa, Sarah, and Laura for continuing to consistently submit work each week. And then I also want to give a shout out to Colin and Emily for working hard last week. Maybe a little behind, but then they got the motivation to start last week. And the hardest part is starting. So hopefully you guys can continue to have good weeks here and continue to reach out for help as you need it. Attendance. In order to get perfect attendance each week, you need to complete the weekly instructional launches, which you're listening to right now, submit work on 5 days a week, or end the week on pace. So what we mean by on pace is the pace chart that is in my Google Classroom on the About page. That is what trumps everything. So whatever is due on there is what you need to have submitted so far. So make sure you're following that pace chart. And also, how can you show you're working? You want to be completing the diagnostic assessments. Don't just jump right into a content assessment. Take a diagnostic, see what you need to learn. Then take the content assessments after you study the playlist. You can submit project checkpoints for feedback and also setting goals on your main weekly page. So that's something you need to do and update every single week is change those goals. So maybe make that what you do every single Monday. Your very first thing is to set the goals page and make them realistic goals and things that are actually relevant to what you're working on. Progress reports. On October 26th, which was last Thursday, we basically took a screenshot of your year view. So that's what's pictured on the right. And that's going to be a paper copy is just going to be sent home to your parent or guardian explaining where you're at and where you should be. It's important to remember that whatever you did on Friday or over the weekend or today is not going to be included in that. So again, it's just a snapshot of where you were last Thursday. So if you are somebody that your year page looks like this and everything is green and there's no red, you are sitting pretty because that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. You're staying ahead of this line here and you're completing the assignments as they're due. So that's the most important thing, is to make sure you're staying on pace. If yours looks more like this, then I'm sure you're already aware that you are behind, and that's why they're red. It means that those should have been completed already because the blue line passed those. This person does look like they've submitted a project and did get a better grade on it. We have a past due project here and in this class as well. So if you're somebody who has a lot of red mixed in, it's not a problem. You want to make sure that you're addressing it soon, but you have 3/4 of the year left to get on the right track, reach out for help, and see what you can do to make that a better grade. How can you pass content assessments? I've noticed a lot of you are struggling a little bit with the content assessments, taking them 6, 7, 8 times. So make sure that you're doing it in the correct order. The first thing you should do is be going in to take one diagnostic at a time. There's also a lot of you that are taking 20 diagnostics in a day, and you're probably confusing yourself, truthfully. So pick which focus area you're working on and actually focus on that area. So the first thing you want to do is take the diagnostic. And when you think of the word diagnostic, I think of if you went to a hospital because you're not sure what's wrong with you, they're going to do a diagnostic test and see what's wrong or what you need to work on. Same if you take your car to AutoZone and say, this light's on, they're going to do a diagnostic test to see what needs work. So this is basically just a pre-test to tell you what you need to study in order to be able to pass that content assessment. So once you know what you need to work on, that's what you should be looking for in the playlist. You do not need to look at everything in the playlist, but rather focus on what the diagnostic said that you struggled with. And then lastly, you would take the content assessment. So if we are going to give a little bit of advice for the focus areas again, I want to go into the summit. And we'll do the year page. And just a reminder, if we go in to do attendance and I see a blank slate here and you're somebody that's behind, that means that more than likely you're going to have a day or two of absences because you're not outlining anything that you're doing for the week. So without any evidence, it's hard for us to give you full attendance. So make sure your page does not look like this. So going into the year view, if I were to go into a new focus area, the first thing I should be doing is reading this description. By completing this playlist, you will learn to define and identify the functions of commas, ellipses, and dashes, and as well as use commas, ellipses, and dashes in writing. So if I don't feel I can do that, I do not need to request that content assessment because I'll surely fail. That's what I'm going to be assessed on. And if I don't know how to do these things that are outlined here, there's just no point in taking that content assessment yet. So instead, what you need to do is you need to take the diagnostic assessment, and then it will outline for you what areas you need to better study. And then once you study those areas from the playlist, then you would take the content assessment. So just going in for an example. Okay, that's not. So if I wanted to see all content assessments. So here's the diagnostic that was originally taken. He got a 0 out of 1 on the function of commas, 0 out of 1 here, 0 out of 1 here. So really, the only thing that he did not need to study was sentences that incorrectly use commas, ellipses, and dashes. So all of these that are zeros is what areas he would wanted to go back in and study better. So if he did not know how to identify the function of commas, he would go down to the playlist, define and identify the function of commas. So he does not have to look at everything here, but you want to make sure, maybe watch this video or do this check for understanding, go to this website until you feel that you do know it. And then once you, again, feel that you know all of these things here, then you can request it. So I just want to see you guys not waste so much time and really put in harder work and try the content assessments one time, but and then just pass on that first or maybe the second time. So week 10 runs November 1st to November 7th, and according to the PACE chart, you should have completed the Forms of Government focus area and the Enlightenment Philosophers focus area. I hope that you would have at least attempted it by now, but there are some of you who have not even attempted anything. To put that in perspective, we are 1/4 of the way done with the year, and you have submitted nothing. So that's just not a good statistic. Make sure you make a change soon. Because we want you to be successful, but at that rate, it's going to be nearly impossible. So get to work soon and get the help that's needed. And also, the Ideas That Change the World project is due on 11/7, which is just over a week away. So you do have some things to work on this week. Just to recap, once you set goals, you should also go back and reflect on them to see how you actually did. So we did discuss the class progress. We gave our shout outs. We went over the attendance policy, we went over the grading and the progress monitors, and we also gave some tips for going through the focus areas. So that means that we have achieved this goal, and I strongly suggest that all of you at the beginning of every day, or at least the beginning of every week, sit down and either type out or put on a piece of paper what your goals are for that day or for that week, and really, really follow that list and work to achieve that, because there is something oddly satisfying about being able to cross off an item from a list and say that you did it. So if you are somebody who's not setting goals, you're probably somebody who's not being fully successful in this platform. So I do suggest maybe make that change. That could be the easiest change you make this week, is actually start writing out your goals and crossing them off as you achieve them. So other than that, I want you guys to have a good week. Please reach out to me if you need any help. Again, the feedback for the first project is not going to be available for much longer. So take advantage of my help and send me a hangout if you need it. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week.